Have you ever pondered what it might be like to embody the earth itself? Not merely to tread upon its surface or harvest its bounty, but to be its very essence, its heartbeat, its dreaming consciousness? Now picture the dread of crafting something so vast, so fierce, that it turns against you. Envision forging the heavens only to find them imprisoning you in mute captivity. Gaia didn't just imagine this, she endured it. While tales of gods and titans echo through time, her story has remained unspoken, not etched in stone or chanted in sacred halls, but hidden in the depths until now. Welcome to Tales of Mythology, where ancient legends, forgotten terrors, and divine conflicts are brought to life. If you're captivated by the hidden facets of myth, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell to stay updated with every epic tale. The Awakening. It began with visions, not mere symbols or allegories, but voices deep and resonant, like ice splitting across a frozen sea, speaking in a tongue older than words. A scholar journeyed to Delphi, chasing Apollo's legacy for a thesis, expecting myths and marble. But beneath the sacred site lay no melody, only a heavy, living silence. The cave wasn't on any map, locals swore it didn't exist, and ancient charts seemed to skirt its presence. Yet the earth whispered, and those who heeded its call found a path. Stone steps spiraled downward, slick with moss and time, their walls etched with faded glyphs too worn to read. At the heart of the descent stood a cracked stone, cold yet pulsing, not Apollo's but hers, Gaia's. The Sibylline seat, once alive with oracles and foresight, thrummed with roots. The ground stirred not with quakes but with purpose. The air grew thick, not with decay but with memory. The myths were mistaken, the oracle wasn't stolen, it was silenced. The voice returned, first in the soil, then in rivers, then in the heavens. Across Greece, mountains long dormant split open, springs darkened to ink, and newborn lambs emerged sightless, bleeding in eerie cadence. Priests called to Zeus, Apollo, Athena, but no divine answer came. Only the trees responded, their bark splitting into spiraling maws, their roots coiling into cryptic patterns, whispering a single phrase through trembling leaves and rippling waters: "They forgot me. Now they'll recall." The scholar documented it all, frantic notes in journals, recordings looping in languages no expert could decipher. The Delphic stone parted, not broken but peeled open, revealing a hollow of living roots, beating like a second heart. No one else witnessed it, no one else could. In distant cities, signs multiplied, vines burst through concrete, roads buckled, rivers flowed backward. Animals vanished or returned altered, eyes too numerous, tongues like foliage. The gods were silent, not absent but fading. Gaia wasn't awakening, she had never slept. Humanity had drifted skyward, forgetting the soil, strangling the breath that once sustained them. They saw nature as passive, a resource, gods as mere stories. But Gaia was no deity, she was the earth itself. The scholar's final words, scrawled in blood or rust or something deeper on the cave wall, read, "Gaia never slumbered. She waited until her children had no sky left to cry out to." Above, the heavens glowed, not with dusk but with reclamation, a veil of hubris lifted. Cities fell to encroaching forests, towers split under blooming roots, statues of gods crumbled as moss veiled their marble gazes. No fire, no fury, just the steady reclaiming of breath. Gaia sought no temples, no hymns, only silence. In the end, no names remained, only roots, stone, and the quiet exhale of earth taking back what was hers. Gaia rose not as a mother, but as a reckoning. The Genesis. In the beginning, there was chaos, not frenzy, but a vast, silent void. From it, Gaia arose, not as a gentle nurturer but as a force of will. She didn't emerge weeping but humming, a low vibration of stone grinding against stone. Her essence wasn't a cradle but a crucible, forging not life but structure. Hesiod named her the broad-breasted, the unshakable foundation of all. Her first act was raw. She tore herself apart to form mountains, Ouranos, whose peaks clawed the sky like jagged bones. Then came Pontus, the sea, not spilled but breathed into being, flooding the deep. Yet it wasn't enough. She needed a guardian, a force to hold her boundaries. From her longing and dread, she summoned Ouranos, the sky, her partner and her captor. She hoped he'd shield her. Instead, he draped himself over her like a starry cage, ever watchful. Their offspring, Titans, Cyclopes, the hundred-handed Hecatonchires, were not cherished but feared. Ouranos, like a primal deity before deities had names, buried them within Gaia's own body. Imagine the agony, not poetic, but visceral, suns trapped in her core, her form torn between creation and confinement. Mountains shuddered, rivers wailed, yet Gaia held her silence, not surrender, but strategy. She crafted a blade of adamant, cold and unyielding, and whispered to Kronos, her youngest, "Strike where the stars are born." He did. Ouranos fell, not with a cry but a shattering, his blood raining down to birth furies, giants, and Aphrodite, a sky undone, a god unmade. Gaia didn't mourn or rejoice. She watched as stars, once locked behind Ouranos' dome, burned free above her. Gazing into the void, she declared, "I created you. I will unmake you." From then, the earth remembered. Her hills held stories, her stones murmured warnings, her roots wove deeper, entangling fate itself. Gaia's silence wasn't peace, it was the hush before a cataclysm. To see her as a mere symbol of fertility is a modern misstep. The ancients dreaded her, offering black beasts in her name, not doves. Delphi's oracle stone was hers before Apollo's, her voice carried in dreams, not melodies. She wasn't the gift, she was the giver, the one who opens. What does it mean for the earth to be awake, to feel? Perhaps quakes are her spasms, landslides her grief, and beneath cities and prayers to newer gods, she listens, not asleep, but waiting. Science speaks of the Gaia hypothesis, a self-regulating planet, but myth knew her truth. She nurtured not from love, but from memory, and destroyed for the same cause. Her legacy wasn't harmony, it was defiance. The prophecy. Ouranos' blood had scarcely cooled when Kronos claimed the throne. The sky bled silence, and the earth bore its scars in quiet. Gaia didn't celebrate, the blade she'd forged now rested with a son who crowned himself king but heeded no one, not even the mother who freed him. Power shifted, but the burden on her remained. Where Ouranos had bound her, Kronos pierced her with arrogance born of her own essence. He didn't bury his children, he consumed them. Rhea wept, but Gaia did not. She'd learned that motherhood's pain wasn't in creation but in watching love turn to tyranny. She warned Kronos through the world's trembling echoes, "Your rule will end. A son will rip the heavens from you." He laughed, then swallowed Hestia. Gaia turned from him, her whispers reaching Rhea, her daughter of dust and blood. In a Cretan cave, cradled by Gaia's own stones, she hid the sixth child in roots and shadow, no light, no lullaby, only breath. The boy was Zeus, though nameless for years. Whether nurtured by nymphs or earth, he drank from wild beasts, raised in the shade of ancient trees. Gaia wasn't idle in his rise, through dreams, winds, and cryptic signs, she wove fate's threads. Oracles spoke of storms to shatter thrones, priests drank her essence and foresaw upheaval. She allied with neither Olympus nor Kronos, she was the force beneath their war. When Zeus returned, Gaia was ready. She offered an elixir of memory and bile, forcing Kronos to expel his siblings. The gods emerged not as infants but as rivals. The air burned, stones split, and the Titanomachy erupted, not a mortal skirmish, but devastation itself. For a decade, fire fell, titans hurled peaks, and thunder blazed. Gaia, stretched and scarred, bore the wounds in silence. Each Cyclops step cracked her bones, each of Zeus' bolts seared her skin. Her womb, once a forge of stars, became a battlefield. She'd birthed Kronos to slay a tyrant, raised Zeus to topple a monster, but what had she wrought? When the Titans fell and Olympus rose atop her peaks, Gaia didn't rejoice, she quaked. From her shudder came sorrow, not pride. In Zeus, she saw not salvation but a new terror, a thunderous lord of dominion, not balance. He wasn't her son, he was her executioner. From the ashes of Titans, Gaia wept. Her tears seeped into stone, birthing giants, not for worship, but vengeance. Taller than forests, born of pain and prophecy, they built no temples, sang no songs. The gigantomachy wasn't fueled by pride but by Gaia's anguished roar. The gods fought with fury, but prophecy isn't a blade, it's a mirror. In the giants' eyes, they saw themselves. Even Heracles was called, not for glory but necessity, for Gaia had shaped a war only she could end. Mortal. Blood could tip the scale she had. Learned the limits of divinity she had. Turned them into weakness but even her vengeance had bounds the giants fell. Olympus stood Gaia's tears dried into stone her temples once filled with offerings of black rams and whispered prayers emptied her name faded from the lips of priests Delphi turned to Apollo. The stones that pulsed with her voice grew cold yet she endured Gaia the ever enduring earth bore all with silent fury. Not for love of war but to set right the imbalance in the shadow of Olympus she lay still but stillness was not death. The gods believed themselves victorious. They believed prophecy had been fulfilled. They did not realize prophecy has no end, it coils, it mutates from the union of Gaia and the pit itself. Tartarus, something darker would rise, not a giant, not a titan, but a wound given shape. He is not my son, he is my executioner. From my tears they rose and from my silence they will return. I am not music, monstrosity. Done. Gaia no longer whispered, she no longer dreamed. The cries of her children had become noise, the footsteps of gods no longer stirred awe but nausea. Her body carved into temples and cities bore the arrogance of those who believed Olympus eternal. They worshipped sky storm, sun, but not the soil beneath their feet. Gaia had given them world and breath, now she would give them end. Tartarus was not a place, he was a presence below, around, within the pit that once swallowed her. Suns now welcomed her as a lover. There was no warmth in their union, only pressure, weight, hunger. From it she conceived her final creation, not life, but consequence. Typhon, born not of womb, but of void, his veins flowed with flame. His eyes smoldered like dying stars. Where mortals had limbs he bore serpents, writhing, hissing, coiling with the rage of an earth scorned. His voice cracked mountains, his breath melted sky. He was not evil, he was reflection. Hovga's agony of divine neglect, of justice malformed into wrath. The gods looked upon him and recoiled. Zeus, crowned in thunder and clothed in authority, met the beast not With pity but with fear the skies. Blackened Olympus shook, Typhon rose like a storm too ancient to be named. He did not speak, for Gaia had not given him language, she had given him direction. Zeus attacked, the heavens raged. Lightning split clouds into fire, but Typhon did not fall. He devoured with hands of serpents and wings of ash. He drove the gods to retreat. Zeus was seized, his sinus torn, his tendons cut. The king of Olympus, once a tyrant slayer, now wept in the shadow of a child not even born to conquer but to remind. Victory did not come with valor, it came with deception. Hermes, sly and silent, stole back Zeus's strength. Apollo blinded Typhon's gaze. Athena struck with poisoned cunning, and Zeus, risen again, unleashed the final bolt, not in triumph, but in terror. It pierced Gaia's son and tore through her womb. Typhon collapsed beneath Mount Etna, his screams becoming lava, his breath sulfur. Gaia felt it all. She did not cry, she did not scream, she did not speak. She stilled her temples, once vibrant with black-blooded offerings were raised. No priest dared whisper her name, no oath invoked her soil. Olympus had won not only the war, but the memory. They rewrote the songs, they silenced the stone. Gaia became a myth, but earth does not forget. Even as Typhon fell, she trembled not with fear, but with curse. Even gods must return to dust, and I am dust. Gaia's lament, fragment attributed to the lost oracles of Delphi. The cracks beneath the earth did not seal, they spread. Forests grew quiet, rivers turned dark, animals twisted into forms without eyes, without mouths, without need. The earth still breathed, but it no longer shared. They believed they had buried her with her final child. But Gaia had never died, she had only changed. She who once formed valleys from embrace and oceans from sigh now bore only silence. They erased her name, but dust cannot be unmade. A wound so deep the stars recoiled. He fell and the skies cheered, but beneath that joy the earth split, and from her hollow came no song, only the sound of something waiting return. It began with dreams, not symbols, not metaphors, voices low and vast like glaciers breaking, speaking in syllables that split the skull. A language older than language. The researcher had come seeking Apollo, a pilgrimage, a thesis, a quiet descent into myth and marble. But what lay beneath Delphi was not song, it was silence, dense, pressing alive. The cave was not marked, locals denied its existence. Old maps curled around the mountain as if avoiding its presence. Yet the earth called, and those who listened heard the stone steps wound downward, slick with moss and centuries faint. Carvings adorned the walls, glyphs too eroded to decipher. At the lowest chamber stood the stone, cracked, cold, breathing. It was not Apollo's, it had never been. It was hers, the Sibylline seat once warmed by priestesses and prophecies, pulsed with roots. The very ground beneath it shifted not with tremors but with intention. The air thickened not with rot or damp but with memory. The myths were wrong, the oracle had not been stolen, it had been silenced. The voice returned, first in the soil, then the streams, then the sky. Across Greece earthquakes ruptured mountains long thought dormant. Springs turned black, newborn lambs emerged eyeless, bleeding in rhythms unnatural to any beast. Priests offered prayers to Zeus, to Apollo, to Athena, but none answered. Only the trees did their bark split in spiral mouths, their roots twisted into circles always the same. Phrase murmured in rustling leaves and shivering water. They forgot me now. They'll remember the researcher recorded everything, scribbled notes into journals, captured audio that looped back on itself in tongues no linguist could name. The Delphi stone cracked open, not shattered but peeled, beneath it a cavity of living root. It pulsed like a second heart. No one else saw it, no one else could. Back in the modern cities the signs multiplied, vines erupted through pavement, highways buckled, rivers reversed, animals vanished or returned. Wrong eyes, too many tongues like leaves. No gods answered, not because they were gone, because they were dying. Gaia was not rising, she had always been here. It was humanity that had left, climbing skyward, forgetting soil, choking the breath that once nursed them. They thought nature was passive, that earth was resource, that gods were myth, but Gaia was never a god. She was the ground, the researchers' final message scratched into the cave wall in blood or rust or something darker. Read, Gaia was never asleep, she was waiting until her children had no more sky to scream into. Above the cave, the sky reen not with sunset but with return, a veil lifted, not of time but of arrogance. Cities crumbled beneath creeping forests, towers cracked beneath blooming roots, statues of gods toppled as moss grew over marble. Eyes, no fire, no wrath, just the steady reclaiming of breath. No prayers could stop it. She did not want temples, she did not want songs, she wanted silence. And in the end there were no names left, only root, only stone, and the quiet breath of earth reclaiming what was hers. Gaia did not rise as mother. All from tales of mythology.